Welcome to Relation Tales. Please like this video and subscribe Relation Tales. I barely got through the door when I saw her sitting at the kitchen table, her face masked with that look you get before delivering bad news. Amber, my wife of 10 years, motioned for me to sit down across from her. No small talk, no pleasantries, just an eerie silence that filled the space between us. "Logan, we need to talk," she said, her voice wavering just slightly. My stomach tightened. This wasn't the first time I'd heard those words, but something about her tone told me that whatever came next would be a gut punch. "Just say it, Amber." "I'm listening," I replied, crossing my arms over my chest, bracing for impact. She took a deep breath, not meeting my eyes. "I still love you, Logan, I do. But I've realized there's something missing for me. I need more, and I think I want to explore that with someone else." The words hit me like a slap. My heart pounded, my vision narrowing in on her face, as if searching for a sign that this was some sort of sick joke. But she just sat there, waiting for me to say something, her fingers nervously tapping the edge of the table. "You want to see someone else?" I managed to get out, the anger creeping into my voice despite my best efforts. "And what, you think I'm supposed to just accept that? Let you walk off with another guy while I wait around like a fool?" She bit her lip, the confidence in her voice wavering. "It wouldn't change how I feel about you. It's just physical. If you love me as much as you say, you'll understand." I let out a bitter laugh, leaning back in my chair. "And you'd be fine if I suggested the same thing? If I told you I wanted to be with someone else too?" Amber blinked, caught off guard. I think I'd try to understand," she said, but I could hear the uncertainty, the lie beneath the surface. "You're kidding yourself," I snapped. "You'd never accept it. But you expect me to?" A moment of silence stretched between us, thick with tension. She finally looked me in the eye, and I saw the determination there. "Logan, this is something I feel I need to do. I hope you'll give me the space to do it." I stormed out of the room, my mind racing, barely hearing her call my name as I slammed the door to our bedroom. Anger surged through me, mingling with disbelief. How had it come to this? Just days ago, I thought we were, if not perfect, then stable. And now, she wanted to bring someone else into our lives? Sleep was impossible that night. I tossed and turned, the sheets tangling around me like a vice. Around 3 a.m., I finally made up my mind. If Amber was serious about this, I needed to know exactly what she had planned. And if she thought I'd let her trample over our life together without a fight, she had another thing coming. The next morning, I left the house at my usual time, barely glancing her way. But instead of going straight to work, I made a detour. I called in a personal day and headed to a store specializing in surveillance gear. As I gathered what I needed, voice-activated recorders, a GPS tracker, a spy camera, I felt a sense of grim satisfaction. If she was planning to betray me, I wouldn't let her get away with it. By the end of the day, I had everything set up. A tiny recorder in her car, another hidden near the phone, and one tucked into a corner of our bedroom. I also managed to access her phone account, forwarding her messages to my own email. It felt like an invasion of privacy, but what choice did I have? She was the one who'd shattered my trust first. The next few days were a blur of waiting and listening, each message and call revealing a little more of the truth. The name that kept coming up was Jake. They exchanged sweet words and secret plans, arranging to spend a weekend together. Jake was a coworker of hers, someone I'd met at a few of their office events. I thought he was just a friendly colleague. Turns out he was more. On Friday morning, I called my lawyer, laying out the situation. "I'm going to need help with this. A divorce, but I want to make sure she doesn't walk away unscathed," I told him, my voice hard with determination. "I'll have the evidence you need by Monday." That afternoon, I watched from a distance as Jake's car pulled into our driveway. Amber stepped out of the house, her suitcase in hand. She glanced around nervously, but I made sure to stay out of sight. As she leaned into the car window to kiss him, she cast a quick, smug look toward our house. It was all I could do not to walk over and confront them right then and there. Instead, I let them drive off and waited a few minutes before heading inside. I packed a bag, grabbed my hidden camera equipment, and followed them to the hotel they'd planned to stay at. They had reserved room 214 for their little weekend. I booked room 216. Setting up the cameras was easy. I placed one in a vent between the rooms, giving me a perfect view of their bed. I installed another one outside their window. It felt wrong, but I pushed that feeling deep down. They'd made their choices, and now I'd make mine. I watched as they arrived, catching snippets of their conversation. They laughed, joked, and whispered sweet nothings, words that once belonged to me. But the real punch came when Amber started talking about how free she felt, how she hadn't realized what she'd been missing. I recorded everything, capturing their time together on video. They spent their nights in bed, their days exploring the city like tourists, enjoying dinner dates, and indulging in the kind of intimate moments that had once been ours. On Saturday night, I decided to add a little twist to their evening. I called for a delivery to their room, a bouquet of roses. When Amber answered the door, she looked puzzled as she read the card. "Hope you're having a great time with Jake. Logan." Her face drained of color. She immediately dialed my number. "What is this, Logan? Are you spying on me?" Her voice was laced with panic. "Enjoy the flowers, Amber. You've earned them," I said coldly before hanging up. I watched through the camera feed as she tried to explain herself to Jake, her hands shaking. He put an arm around her, trying to calm her down, but I could see the tension in his jaw. Sunday afternoon, I made my way back home, arriving just before Amber did. She walked through the door, looking like a shadow of herself, guilt etched across her face. But I wasn't interested in her apologies. I handed her the manila envelope filled with the divorce papers and the evidence I had collected. "Logan, please, just let me explain," she begged, her voice cracking. "There's nothing left to explain," I replied, my voice as cold as ice. "You made your choice. Now you get to live with the consequences." Tears streamed down her face, but I felt nothing. For too long, I'd been the one carrying the pain. Now it was her turn. The next few weeks were filled with legal battles, tense conversations, and awkward encounters. I blocked her number, shut her out of my life completely. Amber moved out, crashing on her sister's couch while she tried to piece her life back together. But every time she tried to reach out, to make amends, I ignored her. Meanwhile, I made sure Jake faced his own consequences. My lawyer served him papers, intent to sue for alienation of affection. I knew it would cost him, even if it never made it to court. He called me once, swearing that Amber had meant nothing to him, that he hadn't intended to wreck my life. I just laughed and hung up. He deserved every bit of it. Amber's sister, Rachel, tried to mediate between us, calling to ask if I could meet with Amber to hear her out. But I declined every time. She made her bed, Rachel. Let her lie in it. As the dust settled, I started rebuilding my life, finding small moments of peace. I reconnected with old friends, spent time at the gym, and started working on a side project I'd put off for years. The nights felt less empty, the silence less suffocating. And then I met Tessa, a woman I ran into at a bookstore one rainy afternoon. We bonded over a shared love of old sci-fi novels and coffee. At first, I was hesitant keeping my distance, but she had a way of making me laugh, of making me forget about everything that had gone wrong. We started meeting up for coffee, then dinner, and slowly something began to grow between us. It wasn't a fairy tale romance, but it was honest, and it was real. Months later, as I finalized the last of the divorce proceedings, I felt a strange sense of relief. Amber had moved on, though I heard through the grapevine that things hadn't worked out with Jake. She tried to find closure, but some doors once closed can never truly be opened again. I, on the other hand, had learned to find strength in my solitude. With Tessa by my side, I started to see a future that wasn't defined by the past. And for the first time in years, I felt hope. As I stood outside the courthouse, signing the final papers, I realized that I was free, not just from the marriage that had crumbled, but from the bitterness that had threatened to consume me. And that, more than anything else, was worth fighting for.